Hello everyone, my name is Zach. I am the Traveling Man and I come to you today from onboard Celebrity Xcel, the newest cruise ship in the world. It's actually day 2 of my 4-day preview cruise on board this ship. Actually her very first sea day ever as we head toward Cozumel, Mexico. And the other day I posted a video showing you a first look at all the new spaces on board this ship. There's 7 new spaces, but in this video I want to dig a little bit deeper Celebrity Xcel. I want to show you things like the entertainment. I want to tell you about the dining, the specialty dining in particular. I want to show you the shops. So come on if you're ready, let's get this deeper dive look at Celebrity Xcel started. Another thing I hope to do in this video is answer some questions that you submitted to me in both comments on the video I've already posted and also on Instagram and Facebook. If you're not following me on those platforms, I invite you to do so now. Zach the Traveling Man on both Facebook and Instagram. But I found a nice seat here. They have these nice chairs up here on the rooftop garden area of the ship, actually just outside of Bora. Bora is right here behind me. We're going to have a lot of Bora in this video because I'm actually going to be dining there tonight for dinner, but they're having brunch right now. You can actually see they have a performer back there, and they have Bora set up so neat. It's very cool up here. It takes the place of the rooftop garden grill, which was present on some of the other ships, the other Ed series ships. So excited to try Bora. We'll talk about that in a minute. But did have my first specialty dining experience last night, the very first night of the cruise, the very first night of Celebrity Xcel with paying revenue guests, and I was really excited to try Mosaic. Of course, Mosaic is located in the Bazaar. That is they call it a new area, but it's actually, I guess, just a area that's been repurposed because it was Eden on former ships, but now it's the Bazaar. And Bazaar is a place that changes by the day. It actually celebrates the destinations visited by Celebrity Xcel. And that's what Mosaic, it's a restaurant located there in the lower level of the Bazaar. That's what it seeks to do also. So the menu, which I found to be very similar to the Eden restaurant menu, but it celebrates the places that this ship visits. And so right now, because they're in their Caribbean season, they have a more Caribbean-inspired, Caribbean-influenced menu. And so that was really interesting to try. I did find out there are 3 dishes on the Mosaic menu which were carryovers from Eden restaurant. There was an appetizer, it was the jumbo crab cake. There was also an entree, which was the Nova Scotia lobster casserole. And then there was a dessert, which was the lemon tart. Those 3 were all carried over from Eden restaurant, but everything else is different. And like I said, it's a Caribbean-infused, Caribbean-inspired menu, so features flavors from the Caribbean. And they said that this menu would change, just like the celebrations in the Bazaar will change once they take this ship over to the Mediterranean. It'll celebrate the countries in the Mediterranean, the countries that they'll be visiting over there. And I think that'll be really interesting because I want to see how they handle some of the Mediterranean countries when they have Bora up here on top of the ship, which already does just that. It celebrates more of a Mediterranean and Greek influence. So we'll see how they handle that. But I did want to be very transparent about how much I paid. And honestly, I don't know that my meal was worth it. I'll tell you up front, it was $110 after gratuities, round about $110 after gratuities. And it's kind of disappointing because I remember the first time I sailed one of these Ed series ships and dined at Eden, I think the price was something like 60, 65 bucks or something like that. So it's gone up exponentially over the past few years. But I feel like the dining experience itself is very much like Eden. It's just a different menu, basically. It's Eden, it's the same, open kitchen concept. You can actually watch the chefs as they cook. It's different food though, so a lot of people were asking me and questions, and I said I wanted to answer some questions in this video. A lot of people were saying, how has Mosaic changed and how is it like Eden? It's still very much like Eden with a little bit of a different menu, just depending on where you're selling. But did like the Caribbean influence in the food that I had. I started out with a yellowfish ceviche, which was really good, really flavorful. It had some avocado in there, it had some grapefruit, it had some chicken chicharrones on the top, so a little bit of crunch, but really good flavor to that. Really enjoyed that, really refreshing appetizer. They also had some bread that they brought out to the table. They bring it out to all the tables. It was really good. It was a cocoa bread, they said, from Jamaica, and it reminded me of a croissant. It was really flaky like that, and it was topped with some coconut, and the coconut had been infused in the bread. It had soaked down into the bread. It was topped with coconut flakes, really good bread, and they had some cocoa butter that they served that with. Also, for a starter, I had the fish croquetas, which were really good. And this was like a piece of fish, and it was topped with, it's kind of like a deconstructed croqueta, really. Had some breadcrumbs on top of it, and it was on top of a sauce. And then also had some jerk pork dumplings, and this was wild because it was like Caribbean infused Asian, but it was really good. It was pulled pork, pulled jerk pork inside of the dumplings, really good flavor to that. And then for my main, I actually went with 2 mains because they had a filet mignon with mole sauce. And normally I try to shy away from filet mignon because I feel like you can have a filet mignon here, there, and everywhere, and it would taste the same. So what's really special about it in a specialty restaurant on a cruise ship? But this one was really good because the mole sauce and having that flavor was really interesting. It was really unique. And then I had to go with the lobster casserole. Again, that carry over from Eden Restaurant because that's one of my favorite dishes in Eden Restaurant. And they brought me just a little half portion of that. And then for the dessert, I went with the corn decadence. They said this was a new menu item, but I swear I've had this before on a celebrity ship. I don't remember where, maybe it was in the main dining room or something, but this was basically a dessert made of all corn. So it was a corn creme brulee, it was topped with popcorn, and then it was ice cream, popcorn flavored ice cream, which was really interesting. But really enjoyed my meal at Mosaic, but I do not think it was worth $110, and I would not go back, to be quite honest with you, at that price. It's a lot of money, and I don't feel, even though the service was tremendous, it was amazing service. All of the servers in there treated me so well. They were on top of it, anticipated my every need. I could just think about needing a knife or something, and they would just be right there holding it, you know. So really good service, but as far as the food goes, I don't feel like it was exciting, it was unique, it was different enough to make me want to go back. So that's the deal with Mosaic. That was last night. And then at the end of the night, they actually sent me a surprise to my room, and I'll put a clip in here showing that. So just back to my room after dinner at Mosaic, and have a little gift here from Mosaic, and I'm gonna try to do this one-handed. Let's see how it works out. What is it? Oh, there we go. Opens up like that. Thank you for choosing to dine with us. And oh, it's some candies. As though I needed more things to eat. I'm gonna keep it in here, but you can see some, looks like some little chocolate. Gonna keep those in there, and I'm gonna do those later, but a neat little touch after dinner to have something delivered to the room. So here in the Celebrity Flagship area, I did want to show something that's actually really cool. This is a map here of actually all the celebrity ships. You can see here on this little dashboard, you can pull up all the ships and see where they're at. And actually, I think this information is outdated though, because this says that Celebrity Apex is in Geiranger, Norway. And then over here, it actually says they're docked in St. Kitts. And I know for a fact they're not in Norway, because I actually took the Celebrity Apex a couple of weeks ago, her transatlantic away from Europe. But wanted to show this board here. It's in the Celebrity Flagship area. You can come and do cool things with it. Not sure how reliable the information is. It's also not very responsive. Anyway, work to be done here, I'm sure, but this is pretty cool. You can pull up any ship in the Celebrity fleet, see where it's at, see some navigational information. And it's right here in the Celebrity Flagship, which is one of my favorite areas on the ship. I was talking about that in my last video, just how much I like this area. It's so neat. It's beautifully designed. Right now, let's check out the shop, the Flagship shop, where they have a lot of celebrity branded merchandise. This is where you can also get your ship models if you need to get those. But the sticker shock on these, maybe you know, maybe you don't. I don't think they've ever been this much before, but I know that on Royal Caribbean they're this much. So maybe that's why these are becoming this much. These are $74.95, and if you don't believe me, you can look right there. $74.95 for this. Now it's cool that the little magic carpet moves up and down, but I don't know if it's worth $75. But like I said, a lot of celebrity branded things in here that you can get. A lot of different shirts and things. A little bit more celebrity branded merchandise than what they've had in the shops before. And again, that's because this is the Flagship store, so it's all about the celebrity branded things. They've got all sorts of hoodies and shirts and bags. You can see they have a bag up there. T-shirts here. I won't go too much into the pricing because of course that's all subject to change per cruise, but just wanted to give you an idea of what they have here in this Flagship. We've got some long sleeve shirts over here, some shorts, even some towels, some celebrity branded towels that you can take home. And then over here they actually have some shot glasses, some hats, and then some mug / tumbler. I guess these are more, what are these, tumblers, I guess? And then some little tiny ones, some little shot ones. And let's just, I said I wasn't gonna do pricing, but that's $14, that one right there. And some coffee mugs, nothing comes close, which is their new slogan that they're using at Celebrity Cruises. And they also have over here some magnets. If you're a magnet collector, I used to collect magnets a lot when I traveled. Don't really do that anymore. Take too many trips, I think. And then some Celebrity Xcel keychains. And these are actually 2 for $20, the magnets and keychains. More shirts over here. A lot of Celebrity Xcel inaugural season shirts here. These are just general Celebrity Xcel shirts. But this is the inaugural season shirt. This is the only one that actually has the inaugural season on it. And then all sorts of hats, both here and over there. I was kind of curious if they were going to give us hats in the room that said Celebrity Xcel, but given that they're selling them in here for, again, prices $30, I don't think they're going to be giving these away for free. And we're going to walk past the Flagship. This is the ship model. I showed this yesterday, but this is really cool. A lot of folks stopping here to take photos with this. Again, it's cut out so that you can see in there inside all the little venues and things. So make sure you stop and see this and take a look at all the things in these cases over here. Again, just artifacts of days gone by from the Celebrity brand. But now I want to walk into the Bazaar and show you, because it's a new day. That means a new theme. So yesterday this was completely different. I'll put in a clip of what this looked like yesterday, and now you see what it looks like today. So this will change every day, and that's because the celebration inside the Bazaar will be different every day. They're going to celebrate a new location, have a new, I keep wanting to say festival, I don't know if that's the word for it, a new celebration every day. And here at the market at the Bazaar, they actually have different items that you can purchase celebrating the location that the Bazaar is celebrating that day. So there's a lot of things here that seem kind of specific to the Caribbean. And yeah, they actually have locally sourced from Grand Cayman items right here. They have some cigars that you can buy, and they also have coffee. So again, specific to the region. And then over here, I wanted to show you blue. And because they're celebrating Aqua today, they actually changed these panels, because these panels were different yesterday than what they are today. So I thought that was neat that blue is changing. It comes to another question that someone asked, and they asked if blue was different, if I could speak to the changes in blue. And they're having something there right now, so I'll have to insert some footage here that I'll take in a bit of the inside of blue so you can see what it looks like. But you can see here the exterior, the facade at least, is different. It's a glass entrance to blue. Oh, they're actually having the Zenith lunch in there today. But a glass entrance to blue. They have these panels here. So it's not the same fabric or whatever they had before. You can actually see the glass walls there. So they have changed blue. It does look a little bit more upscale now, I think. It's not the blue on the outside and the white wall that they had on the other Ed Sheeran ships. It is different, and I think it looks great. I like the new look of blue. And I will say that this area, depending on time of day, it does get quite busy because these walkways are a little bit small, a little bit narrow. So, but you can see folks stopping to look at the merchandise. So this is locally sourced from Mexico. So maybe they just have these things every day and they don't rotate, I'm not sure. Come with me now into the Bazaar itself, where things have changed today. Things are different today because, like I said, we are celebrating Aqua. So they did put up, you see all these coral things, kind of feels very under the sea. This wall over here where folks can take photos with. See more over here. They're actually gonna have a show later and we'll catch that and I'll show that in this video. But they're gonna have the Aqua celebration and they're actually featuring that at 4 o'clock or 4:30. 4 o'clock or 4:30 and also 10 o'clock or 10:30. So I like that it's very spread out. There are quite a few people in here right now because they are about to have some live music, but a lot of different stations in here, so you can try different things. They were handing out tres leches cake, passion fruit tres leches when people were coming in the door there. We'll take a look at some of these other stands and see what's going on. It says display only. Oh, maybe this is where they were handing out some of the tres leches earlier. We'll go over here and see what this one is about. So see, Aqua Festival Cocktail. So they do have specialty cocktails specific to the celebration for the day or the festival for today. So today it's the Aqua Blossom for $22 or the Seafoam Elixir, which is actually alcohol free for $12. So you can try Aqua Festival cocktails. And I would assume that that Aqua Blossom is too much at $22 for the premium drink package. So I think you'd have to pay extra if you wanted to try that. But you can see they're actually making those right here at this little station. And then they've got a station over there. It looks like they've got different activities you can do, maybe some coloring that you can do. So it's cool how they're celebrating each of these festivals. And then here they actually have watercolor bookmarks. You can create your own, and these are free for anyone to take. I don't think you have to pay. No, I don't see anyone taking payment. So I think anyone can take these and make their own bookmarks. So again, these stations will all change each day depending on the festival happening in the bazaar that day. And then inside Spice, this is the restaurant that's associated with the bazaar, and they have grab and go options you can get here. You can also make your own bowl, and then they also have specialty items that correspond to the day's festival. So for Aqua today, they have 4 cheeses quesadilla. Hi, how are you? Good to see you. With some fish with different toppings on it. And I actually came in here this morning for breakfast and had an Aqua sandwich, which was good. It was like a toast with some fish and a mayonnaise sauce on it, which was really tasty. They also have desserts in here, and again, these change depending on the festival for today. So today they have some tropical pineapple upside down cake, also some rum cakes. And they also have a menu up here of different drinks that they have. Some coffee, some teas, they have milkshakes, they have fresh juices, and even smoothies. So I had to step outside, just outside of the bazaar now, because they were playing music in there. It got really loud. But as I mentioned, they do have drinks in there that you can purchase. And someone had a question. I didn't actually know they had milkshakes in there, but they have an Aqua today, Aqua Colada. So I assume that's more like a pina colada flavored milkshake. And it was $10. And I asked, because the question that the person asked me was, are the milkshakes available on any of the drink packages? And this person was specifically asking about the zero proof or non-alcoholic drink package. And yes, it is included on the zero proof and also the premium drink package. The milkshakes, the juices, and the smoothies are included. However, if you have the classic drink package, you will have to pay a little bit more money, a little bit of a difference because it doesn't cover those items. Or maybe you'll have to pay for them outright, I'm not sure. She didn't specify, but she did say it was more for the classic drink package. But if you have the others, you will not have to pay if you have the zero proof or the premium. Just want to mention that. Also wanted to show back here, again, just outside the bazaar, just like on the other Edge Series ships, this is the smoking section on deck 5. They don't have any art back here though. It's kind of empty and bare back here, but all the art's inside, and really enjoying the bazaar. As I met people this morning, was seeing people around the ship that were coming up to me and saying hello. I was like, you have to go to the bazaar today. You have to go look at it and see, because it's cool how the whole thing changes. Not only the design, the look of it, you know, they've got those digital screens in there that can change, but also the food that they offer, the drinks that they offer, all the little activities that they offer. It's just neat that it changes by the day, depending on what's being celebrated that particular day. So I'm inside the club now. I wanted to show something, because a lot of people have been asking me about if you know, you know, and that's IYKYK, and this is something Celebrity was sort of hinting at before, that it was an area that they didn't tell anything about, but a lot of people have discovered it now because it got out on social media. If you don't want any spoilers, then I suggest you look away now. But you can go into this photo booth here, and it looks like a unassuming photo booth, right? You can get your photos made here. I tried this yesterday. You can get 3 photos made at a time. It'll actually print them out for you. In fact, I see someone's photos here. You can see this is what you get. Now, when you're done, you'll be seated here. Of course, it'll instruct you to exit. Now, depending on what time of day it is, it might tell you to exit this way, which is the way we came. Like right now, if I did this, it would tell me to exit to the right. However, sometimes of the day, it'll say exit to the left. This door will slide open, and you'll get to go to a secret location on the ship, which is behind this door right here. It's actually a secret speakeasy, but don't tell anyone. They're keeping it hush-hush here on board the ship. They don't allow any photos or videos or even phones out in there, so can't really show you what's behind this door. But if you want to experience it, then you need to come to this photo booth after the hours of 5 p.m., as I understand it, and you will be able to experience this secret, if you know, you know, speakeasy. Let me continue that secret a little bit. We just came from right down there at the club, right around the corner here. This used to be the meeting space on the other Edge Series ships, but you notice now it's just crew only. You know, there's no entrance to anything. And then here's the entrance to the theater. And that's because this secret location, that's the space that's being utilized, what used to be the meeting space on board the other ships. And I don't think that they've replaced that meeting space. I don't think they have that on the ship at all. So that's why, that's the new venue on board, but it's behind, it's not listed anywhere. It's not on any of the maps. It's not on any of the app. It's not on anything. You just have to know. And now I've just shown you how you can get there. Remember the photo booth inside of the club after 5 p.m. As we're here at the theater, I did want to say a quick word about the show that I saw last night. The first main stage production show of this cruise. I think there will be 2 of those, and we'll also have 2 guest performers on our 4-night cruise. But the show last night, the main stage production show, was called Between Takes, and it was a very good show. And I normally wouldn't stress very good, about a stage production show. Honestly, a lot of the ones I've seen on ships, ones I've seen with Celebrity before, have not impressed me that much. And I felt like in the past, Celebrity has relied on these Ed Sheeran ships. They've relied on that theater, the beautiful wraparound screen back there. They relied a lot on that in the show. And the show's just been like some singing of some pop songs, But this show, you can tell that they really put a little bit more into it when they produced it, because the singers, the dancers, the acrobats, everyone a part of that production show put their all into it. And it was amazing. I'll put in some clips here as I'm talking, and you can just see, basically it was about a movie that was being filmed in Hollywood in like the 20s, the early 1900s. And it was really amazing how every part of this Hollywood production came to life, from the set design to designing of the costumes to the writing of the script. All of that was represented in the show Between Takes. And the music that they use, some folks are asking me if it's the same music that they use in all their shows, because Celebrity does have a tendency to wear out that soundtrack to the rights of music that they have, and that list of music seems very limited. But they actually use new music in this, songs I haven't heard on Celebrity ships before, so that was refreshing to see also. But a really good show. I really feel like they've stepped it up, at least for that show. We'll see with the other show later in the cruise what that's like, but really enjoyed Between Take. It started at 9:30. There was a show at 7:30 and 9:30. I went to the 9:30 show, showed up about 9:05, 9:10, and they were actually doing some pre-show stuff. So they were out on stage actually, acting some things out. So it was really engaging even before the show started, which I thought was pretty cool. And then it just sucked you right on in from there. And one more thing about entertainment that I should mention, last night was the country saloon in the club, and this was it's a new thing they're doing on Xcel, but it's like a country music night basically. They had line dance lessons beforehand. They were playing country music, exclusively country music in the club, I think from like 10:30 to 11:30, and so that was like one of the theme nights on board. And there were people that brought their cowboy hats and their boots and they're dressed up for it. So just know that I wasn't able to attend, but did go in there just before, and they were playing all sorts of country music. So if you're a big country music fan, that's going to be for you. So look out if you're selling on Celebrity Xcel for the country saloon night. Those clips that you just saw there were from the Aqua show, the very first Aqua show that they've ever done. Of course, Aqua was the theme of the day in the Bazaar, and I will say it got very crowded in there. I do enjoy that they're having 2 of these performances, of course, but normally when they have those performances, they have them all in the evening, and they're usually compressed around dinner time. But they actually had these at 4:30 and at 10:30 last night. So a very good spacing between the shows. You could go before dinner. You didn't have to worry about missing your dinner, being too close to dinner or anything. But I will say, you need to be in there very, very early. I got in there just before 4 o'clock, so maybe 35 minutes early. No seats available, standing room only, and not even good standing room only at that. So you're gonna have to be sitting around in there, hanging around in there for probably an hour or so before showtime, if you want to get up close and personal with what's going on in that show. But it was a good show. It was a live performance of music celebrating the Caribbean, so a lot of good Caribbean music. Really good performances, as you saw in those few clips that I was able to get. Now, it's the next day, and today we are in Cozumel. You can see Cozumel right here behind me. It's currently 10:23 in the morning, and not really planning to do much in Cozumel today because the cruise itself is sort of the destination. That's why I came. So not planning on doing anything in Cozumel. I am going to be going to Bora here in about an hour for their brunch, and I actually tried Bora last night for dinner. So it's weird going there for dinner and then going back for lunch. But Bora is one of the new specialty restaurants on board. Of course, I already talked about Mosaic, which replaced Eden. Well, Bora replaces the rooftop garden grill, which was featured on the first few Edge series ships, and it's in, of course, the rooftop garden area of the ship. And the concept of this is kind of actually interesting because I did get a note to my stateroom yesterday, early yesterday, saying the experience starts, my dining was reserved at 7. It starts 30 minutes before, so I'll come at 6:30 and hang out in the garden because they had music out there. They had videos of the Mediterranean playing on the screen in the rooftop garden. They also had a spritz cart set up, so if you pay to dine, you do get complimentary access to the spritz cart. So you don't have to have a dining package. Anybody can get the spritzes that they offer there. They had 4 different spritzes that they were making for folks, and it was unlimited. You can even get them while you were eating your meal. So I hung out in the garden a bit, and honestly, they forgot about me because when I walked up, you go check in like you would at any specialty restaurant. They give you a little token, a little coin, a little wooden coin that says Bora, and that's your access to the spritz cart. And then they tell you, we'll come grab you when your table's ready. And then they never did, and I saw people that were behind me, that checked in behind me, getting sat. So I go back up and realize they forgot me. And it was actually like 7:15 before I was actually sat. So I sat out there about 45 minutes just waiting for someone to take me to my table. And it was actually a pretty slow experience overall, the dinner. But I will say, it cost me $78, and that was I think $65 plus the 20% gratuity, $13. So yeah, $78 total to eat there. And I don't think that was worth it because I wasn't really wowed. I feel like everything that I had there, nothing, I kept waiting for something to be like, oh, this hits, this is really good. And it wasn't until the dessert course that had happened. The dessert was my favorite part of the entire meal. And I do think that's a shame because for $78, it should feel like specialty dining, but everything was just kind of bland. You know, there never was anything that made me be like, oh, I'm glad I paid $78 for this. In fact, I kind of regretted it after the fact. So yeah, not really a big fan of Mosaic. Wasn't a, you know, like I mentioned, not a, you know, it was fine, but for $110, I expected to be wowed more. And then that was the same experience I had at Bora. I honestly think I preferred Rooftop Garden Grill and their selections and the taste of the food to what was presented at Bora. Now, the ambiance they have down because it does feel very Mediterranean. And them inviting folks to come early and sit in the garden and have a drink, that's really nice. Them having the music, someone playing live music, by the way, in the venue throughout, that's really nice. But they got to work on the menu, they got to work on the food a little bit. So about the food, I'll tell you what I had. I realized I haven't done that yet. For the starter, I had the roasted cauliflower. And this was good. This was very spiced, very well spiced. So I did like that. I also need to mention that they do bring you some bread out. This is really crispy bread. And they bring you a number of spreads for that. They bring you some hummus. They bring you some tzatziki. And then there's some sort of olive sauce that they brought, an olive dip that had a sweet taste to it. So of course, anything sweet I'm going to like. So I preferred that olive one the best. And then for my main, I ended up going with the grilled ribeye cap. And they have all sorts of different selections. They have a lot of stuff from the land. So they had like a lamb option, a spiced lamb option. They had, of course, the ribeye that I got. And then they have a C section, which is like, they have some lobster medallions. They have some fish. They have a couple of different pasta dishes that you actually can get that feature seafood. I was hoping to get a land and a sea because I was wanting to get a ribeye and some of the lobster, but they did say you can only get one from, you know, they don't really want you to get more than one entree. So again, for $78, maybe get another entree if you wanted one. So wasn't really impressed. And yeah, again, the service was kind of slow. And I'm not getting down on it. I appreciate it and grateful for the experience, but the food is just lacking. Oh, and then the best part, the dessert. I had the Greek bread pudding, which was fantastic. Now that was a specialty dessert. That was the most specialty thing about the experience. But that was the experience for dinner at Bora. In about an hour, we're gonna go experience brunch. And despite the dinner not being what I had hoped it would be, I do have higher hopes, higher expectations for brunch because how can you mess up brunch, right? We'll see. So out here on the pool deck, standing in front of the new sculpture, this is of some monkeys. It's cool because there's 2 monkeys here and then there's another one across the deck. You can't see it in this shot, but there's one like right over there on a pole, which is really neat. But this, of course, is different. They do have art here on all of the Edge series ships, but it's different art. So my favorite currently on these ships is actually on the Beyond because they have an elephant standing on top of a man and the man's like bearing the weight of the elephant. And it's really an allegory for what was going on at the time. Beyond was a ship that was built completely during the pandemic, the global pandemic. I'm not so keen on this one though, but I don't really like monkeys, so maybe that's why. But a lot of people have been asking, we're gonna go back to the questions now that people have been sending in, and thank you for sending in those questions, by the way. But a lot of people have been asking, what is the difference between Xcel and Edge Apex, Ascent. So if you've been on Ascent and you've been on Beyond, the framework of the ship is exactly the same. And most of the venues on the ship are exactly the same. It's the same size and dimension as Ascent and Beyond. But, you know, they talk about the new spaces. That doesn't mean they've made the ship larger to accommodate those spaces. That means that those spaces have replaced things. So I talked about Mosaic, you know, being in the place of Eden, which is now the Bazaar back there. I've talked about Bora, which has taken the place of Rooftop Garden. We talk about the pool club. I think they're calling that one of the new spaces, and that's where I am right now. And that's because, you know, they've redesigned it a bit. They've got the seating's a little bit different, I think. They've got more orange. They've got more umbrellas. I think the display back here is a little bit different. So they've changed it up a little bit. There's also If You Know, You Know, which is, I'm gonna spoil the surprise again here. I know I showed it already, but that's the speakeasy on board. And some people are asking about that too. Who has access? Right now, anyone has access. Anyone that shows up and knows how to get in, you know, to go to the photo booth and what times anyone can get in. I don't know if that will change over time. I mean, sort of just being very blunt here, but knowing how Celebrity has operated in recent years, I could see them making that a ship excursion and charging people for that experience. I wouldn't put that past them, again, because that's what they've done with just about everything now. It seems like that is, you know, going back to what's different about this ship, it does seem like this ship was made more, the changes were made to make more money on board. You know, there's more things like the Bazaar, for example, the market at the Bazaar, that's just like, you know, a shop on the way, a huge shop all the way to the Bazaar, where before that was just a beautiful walkway. There was a shop there, I know, but it's all shops now. There's all these increases in the specialty restaurants and things, so a lot of ways to pay more money. So I could see that venue becoming for pay later as well. So that was a lot to say. It's the same as the other ships. It looks identical. You see the pool deck behind me here. It looks just like the other, you know, Ed Sheery ships for the most part. The ocean view, the theater, Cafe Al Bacio. I will say about Cafe Al Bacio, one thing I noticed, because I did just spend a couple weeks on Celebrity Apex, it's a much smaller seating area in there. There's not as many tables here, and I think that was the same on Ascent and Beyond too, if I'm not mistaken. Not as many tables, not as many places to sit down as there were on the Edge and Apex. So that was an observation that I had made. But otherwise, you know, the ship's exactly the same other than those new spaces. So hopefully that helps answer that question. Just here in the Solarium, another difference, I will say, there's no art right here. There was a sculpture, I think, I know at least on Ascent, and I think Beyond too, there was a sculpture right here. You see where I'm at, this little walkway over here, right near the pool. And of course also no spa cafe, that's another difference right over here on this side. That's because they expanded the salon. Again, making more spaces for revenue versus places for guests to enjoy for what was included with their cruise. So it's kind of bare over here now. It's actually kind of weird that Spa Cafe is not here any longer. So here in one of the new spaces on board the ship is the attic at the club. These are all free to play. A lot of folks are asking me about that. But all these, you do not have to pay any extra money for that. You don't have to use onboard credit or anything. You can just show up and start playing, including the darts. And all of the games in here are included. Something you will have to pay for, though, is the vending machines that they have in here. It's a great addition, I think, but you will have to pay. You can see touchscreen to begin. It's going to ask you to tap your ID. I'm not going to do that because I don't need anything in here. But they do have a great selection of different beverages here, and then also a variety of different snacks over here. But you will have to pay for any of these, but not the games in the attic at the club. So I love coming back here to the Bazaar each day to see how things have changed, because it's certainly different today than what it was yesterday. Of course, yesterday was Aqua, celebration of the Caribbean, of the islands. Not sure what the theme is today. They didn't say that in the daily planner, but certainly the screens are different. And they were playing a little bit of music in here. It's given Mediterranean. But look how neat this is. I really like this hallway. This is probably my favorite of these hallways, these transitional hallways that go back into Eden or the Bazaar, depending on what ship you're on. I think this is my favorite of those so far. So came into the theater real quick. Later in this video, you'll see the show tonight, which is called Chapters, but I did want to show something because they've actually already set it up. And you see the set is a lot more elaborate, just like it was the other night with Between Take. They've got stuff off to the side of the stage, some stuff over on the other side, just upping the ante just a bit on entertainment. They're not relying so heavily on that screen back there. They're actually putting a lot more into their performances. At least that's what I took away from Broadway Takes. We'll see what the show tonight is like, but I'm excited to see it based on this. Someone asked, what enhancements did they get right? And what enhancements could have been just not enhanced? You know, what really weren't enhancements, I guess. So far, I think everything has been well done. The thing I'm kind of hesitant about, the thing I'm kind of I still don't know how I feel about it, is the Bazaar. If you watched my first video, you saw how excited I was. I was so excited because it is a beautiful space and I love that it's new, it's different. But the more I go back there, you know, Eden was such a tranquil space. It was such a quiet space. It was a place I love to go and just enjoy sitting for hours. You know, I've sat there and read before. I've sat there with friends and family and just had conversations before. But because of the way they have it set up and they have all those stations in there throughout the day, set all around like I showed you earlier, it really, there's always something going on in there. It's always some noise in there. I don't feel like it's as tranquil and as quiet as what Eden was. So I think that might be one thing that I do miss, and it might make me prefer the older ships that do have Eden. You know, I may find myself going back to those versus coming on Xcel that has the Bazaar. But and then also the show yesterday, that also just how many people, and I know it was the first cruise, and a lot of people that booked this cruise did so because it was preview and they wanted to see all these things first. So of course that's going to produce a larger crowd. But time will just have to tell how I really feel about the Bazaar. But that's one thing so far that I'm kind of don't know about. I'm kind of still skeptical about. But everything else, I think all of the improvements have been improvements. We'll see what my brunch is like. Maybe I'll end up missing rooftop garden grill too. But yeah, everything else is an improvement. It's an enhancement. And I think they've done a really good job of what they've done with the ship. I love that flagship area. I think that's the best thing that they've done. Having that flagship with showing the history of the brand, the design of that though, is just, they knocked it out of the park. They really did. So I'm glad that's part of this ship, because before that was a shop over there. I think that's where the Vagari was. And then the rest of that space was just a wide open space in front of the elevators with not much going on. So yeah, most of the enhancements I like, but TBD on the Bazaar. So let's talk a little bit about that brunch at Bora today. And up front, I'll say it was $42, and that is the $35 charge plus the 20% gratuity. Everything on this ship now has a 20% gratuity. Even my spa pass, which I paid $100 for, had a 20% gratuity on for no reason, because what gratuity is needed in the spa, the thermal suites? Anyway, I digress. Bora for brunch was actually pretty good. Again, they invited me to be there 30 minutes early. They did have a Bloody Mary cart set up in the garden. Now, even though we were in Porta and Cosmo, there were a lot of people up there playing pickleball, people just hanging out. So there's actually a huge line at the Bloody Mary cart. And I actually asked if the cart is open to anyone or if it's, you know, just for people doing brunch. It's actually open to anyone. So if, you know, you go up to the rooftop garden during the day and they're having the Bora brunch, and you see that there, you can partake if you have the drink package or not. I mean, anyone can buy one, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You don't have to be during the brunch. And it is a build your own. There was different toppings you could put in it, like shrimp, and there were some vegetables, there was some cheese. It was a whole thing. So sat there in the garden for a bit and just enjoyed it. And really, really good atmosphere. Again, I said that about the dinner, but a really good atmosphere because they have, again, a live musician inside the restaurant playing. So it's just music. There was a nice breeze blowing across the ship, and it was just very relaxing. So that ambiance there, the environment, the restaurant itself is very nice. However, some of the food was not the best, I guess. So I started with actually a pistachio croissant, and that thing was delicious. They were kind of around croissants and pastries that you could pick from a little basket. And that, again, that pistachio one was absolutely fantastic. Really enjoyed that. And then I went with the chicken and waffles, and this is where it got really disappointing because that chicken was so tough. It was very rubbery. And I'll put in some footage here because the breading was just almost burnt in places, and you could tell it wasn't like a hand-breaded, like freshly made chicken breast, which for a specialty restaurant experience, I think some of these things should be. I don't think it should be as microwaved as some of this food seems like it was, you know, just like instant heat up. So that was disappointing. And then what in the Lego my ego were those waffles that it was on, because they tasted out of a box, like from a freezer. I didn't even eat all that. It wasn't great at all. So that was kind of a tough starting point for the brunch. I'm like, oh no, this is not great. But then I asked to try the lobster medallions because that was something I said I would have tried at dinner, but just didn't know I was able to. That loved those. Those were delicious. And this is the good lobster too. This isn't the lobster they're serving in the main dining room on lobster night or chic night. This is really, really good lobster, and the sauce it was in was so creamy and delicious. Love that. I was like, I kind of want something else because the chicken and waffles just wasn't enough. And they said, yeah, you get whatever you want. Like this is sort of a, you know, like a 2-hour meal. So you just feel free to eat all you want during that time. So I was like, well, bring me the French toast. And everything on the menu has the regular option, and then you can make it the Bora way. So this French toast the Bora way has this thick chantilly cream on top. It has candied pecans. And the French toast itself is caramelized. And I am not exaggerating because I just basically drugged this restaurant for their chicken and waffles. So you know I'm telling you the truth here. It was the best piece of French toast I've ever had in my entire life. I think my review was going to be don't go, but then after I had the French toast, do go. Just don't get the chicken and waffles. Get that French toast because it's unbelievable. And I had to stop myself from getting another one. I'm like, you don't need to do that. It's brunch. It's not that serious, you know. Step back from the table, but it was so good, you guys. You have to try it. You have to go to Bora for brunch. Now, I'll say, make sure if you're selling Xcel, especially if you're selling her in the next few months, that you book your dining reservations as soon as you can, but certainly for Bora, because there were people going up to the host stand and saying, oh, we want to eat here. And they're like, sorry, you know, we're full today. Well, what about tomorrow? Well, we're full tomorrow too, and tomorrow's the last day of the cruise, so they'll not be able to dine here. So it is very popular because it is new, and it's, again, sitting there during the day and having the breeze blow across. It's like the perfect dining venue. So love that. I just wish all the food was a little bit better, and again, more exciting. I just feel like the dinner was a little too bland, but definitely the French toast is where it's at. So that was fantastic. And then I got off the ship to take some exterior shots of the ship. That's the only reason I got off the ship today in Cozumel. And then back on the ship, I was able to answer another question that was submitted. Well, actually several people submitted the same question, but they were asking if they could see the retreat. Now, I don't have access to the retreat. The retreat, of course, is exclusive to suite guests. It's the ship within a ship concept that Celebrity does for their suite guests. And I've stayed in it before on an Edge class ship, actually on the Celebrity Edge, and really enjoyed it. But wanted to walk around and show you what the retreat sun deck looks like. And I have seen it, I've been on it on Beyond before, and it looks just like that. It looks like the sun deck on Beyond. I'm putting some footage in here. Thank you to a viewer of mine who actually, let me in to walk around and take some of these clips just so I could show you, because I know people had an interest in seeing the retreat. So I got some clips here from the retreat lounge and also the retreat sun deck. A very beautiful space. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful places on the ship, but it should be for the price that you're paying, because it can be pretty pricey to stay in the retreat. So really enjoyed the opportunity to walk around in there and get to see what the retreat looks like, and hope you enjoyed getting to see it. Now also, another question that a lot of people have been asking and a lot of people want to see is the casino, because people were saying, oh, the casino's different, the casino's different. And I kept looking at it thinking, I don't play in the casino, but I don't really know what's different about it. But I think I finally figured out what they were talking about. And I was recently, as I mentioned, on Celebrity Apex for 2 weeks, and it had been in dry dock earlier this year. I think in April of 2025 it was in dry dock. And they actually extended the casino. They made one of the shops there on deck 4 right across from the casino an extension of the casino. And so it's that way here on Xcel, and I guess that's what folks are talking about, like it's a bigger casino. But I had just seen that on Apex, so to me it was like, this looks nothing different, nothing out of the ordinary, you know? But that's what's different. So I'm putting in some clips here of the casino so you can see what it looks like. Today was the only day it was actually closed this whole cruise, because today was the only day we're in port. So wanted to provide some clips of that, and hope you enjoy getting to see the casino. And good luck to all you people who are coming on and play. I meet a lot of people on the ships, and they tell me about the casino and how they like to play. They also tell me about those great casino deals that they get. And for that reason, sometimes I think I should play in the casino, but it's just never been anything that I've done. So I think that takes, oh, and then I got to talk about the show. I've done a lot since I talked to you last. I went to the show this evening, the second main stage production show. Now, this is 2 of 3. We're not going to see all of the shows that they have. There's one more, and they mentioned the name, but I forget it now. But the show tonight that we did see was called Chapters, and I have to say, I talked up a lot the Between Takes show, and I said, you know, oh, they're doing a really great job. They're getting away from just the singing and dancing and singing from the same soundtrack. Well, tonight they sang a lot more from the same soundtrack, because these were again, it felt like the songs that Celebrity owns the rights to, and it was just the same songs that I've heard time and time again on their ships. They did some interesting things. They got some like laser lights in there, and they really used the heck out of those things during that show. There were some elements of it that were really cool. At one point, one of the singers was suspended up on a panther, actually, up above the stage. And it was like, okay, Beyonce, you know. But yeah, it was a decent show, but it was what you would expect from Celebrity. It wasn't to the caliber as Between Takes. It's worth seeing, of course. It was entertaining. And the whole thing about it being called Chapters, it's 4 chapters of life. So it was like self, it was others, it was becoming, and it was rising. And so they basically, you know, acted out some things from each while they performed the typical songs you're going to hear on a celebrity cruise. So it was just okay. I can't really rave about it too much or give it too glowing of a review. I went to dinner at Normandy. Normandy is one of the 4 main dining rooms on board, and had a good meal in there, and now it's time for bed, I think. But we got one more day tomorrow, and I have a few more questions to answer.
Yes! Check, you have 4 points. Our winner there has 5, but stay around, okay? Go, Cliff! We are live on ESPN right now.
Just like that, we are headed into the very final evening of our cruise, the preview cruise here on board the Celebrity Xcel. Man, time has just gone by fast, but I do hope that you've enjoyed all the content I put out, both on social media. Like I said, follow me over there if you've not already, and then also here on YouTube. We'll have one more video coming after this. It will be my official review of this cruise experience, so make sure you come back and check that out. Subscribe if you haven't already, but the video's not done yet because we got a few more things to talk about. First of all being the aft elevators on this ship. I thought I was crazy when I first boarded it because I'm like, I feel like there are more elevators back here. There's a total of 8 in the aft, 6 in the front. And in the aft, when I first got on those elevators, I'm like, these feel more narrow than they used to be. And like I said, I was just on Apex, so there are more elevators in the back there. And I can't remember if that's the same on Beyond and Ascent, but there are 8 elevators in the aft of the ship. Of course, that's one of the busier areas of the ship because that's where all the restaurants are. So, and also the Bazaar and things like that are in the back of the ship. So are more elevators back there. But today was the last sea day, and they called it the pullest day ever. The pullest day ever is something that Celebrity's doing now across their entire fleet. It's just a big celebratory pool day, basically. And they're really going all out here on board Celebrity Xcel. Of course, this being their flagship. I think the pullest day ever, they were doing it on Apex when I was on it a couple weeks ago, but it was the very first time they were doing it. So I think they were doing this in conjunction with the Xcel and her rollout. But they had, you know, all sorts of decorations out on the pool deck. They actually had put down rugs all around the pool deck saying pullest day ever. All of the crew all around the ship, not just at the pool deck, even in like Cafe Al Bacho, were wearing pullest day ever pins. They had bars set up all around the pool deck and also up on deck 16. Back near the walking track, they had bars set up back there. So really making the most of it, and they had so many activities out by the pool today. They had the famous guests versus officers volleyball game. So just a lot going on the pool deck today, or the pool club as they call it. They even had a little Instagram wall there for folks to take their photos, which was cool. And they had special pillows set out around on the lounger. So really cool that they're doing that. Probably on the final sea day of your cruise, they'll have the pullest day ever. And also, and probably in conjunction with that, and because it is the last sea day, they had a very special buffet in the Ocean View Cafe today. It was a seafood buffet, so they had all sorts of shrimps and pill and eat shrimp back there. They had fried calamari. They had just all sorts of things, and I made myself a plate and then some and really enjoyed it. So love when Celebrity does that. I think that's something they've been doing in recent years on the final sea day of a cruise, is having a really extravagant buffet. Unfortunately, they didn't have lobster tails this time, though. They did in the past, and when I was on Ascent on her inaugural, they actually had lobster tail, but it was just shrimp today. And then they also had an all-chocolate buffet for dessert. So that was really neat. And then today, the celebration back in the Bazaar, couldn't wait to go back and see what day it was today. It's the Carnival celebration. So, not the ship. Every time I say the Carnival celebration, the Carnival, I guess I should say, celebration. Sounds like I'm talking about another cruise line's ship, but it's not. That's just the celebration in the Bazaar today. So really cool, very vibrant colors, the most colorful day yet. And then I just got back from the performance. They had a performance at 4:30 and another at 10 o'clock. And as you can see in the video clips, y'all, it is standing room only. And there are tables in there, but even with the tables, I feel like it gets cramped because people just stand everywhere. People stand up to take pictures. So I don't think, unless you're right up front, right at the bar, at one of those front tables, anyone's going to have a really perfect vantage point in there. It's just really cramped in there with all the people, and it actually got very warm today with all the people in there. But yeah, no matter where you're at, no matter what time you get there, I think unless you're right up front at the bar at one of those tables that are right up front, you're going to have a hard time seeing certain parts of the show. So the show was very good. It's the same cast that was performing on Aqua a couple days ago. So really did enjoy that, but just, I don't know that venue's right for having people gather for those shows. And I know that they had the Eden shows back there, but at least with Eden, there was more room for standing. Like that, they didn't have all the tables, they just had the chairs. So there was the area in the back of Eden where they had tables for Eden Cafe. And I feel like there was more standing room back there. You could actually stand and see the show. So that's my critique of the Bazaar. And I still don't know how I feel about the Bazaar. I'm definitely missing Eden, and I find myself not going back to that area of the ship as much as I did on the other ships, because Eden was a quiet place to go and sit and enjoy a day at sea or a day in port. And it's never that many quiet, tranquil moments back there. And then I wanted to mention something. I talked about the elevators a little bit, but I did notice something about the elevators, the art in the elevators. Celebrity always has art in there. I've noticed in all the elevators, it does appear like the art is AI generated, which is pretty wild. And I definitely don't like that, because I think, AI is cool as a tool to be used, but also we need to pay artists and creators and make sure that we're employing them and not letting machines take over art. And so yeah, it was just very odd to see that. And I'll show an example here of what I'm talking about. It looks very AI. Maybe it's not. I hope I'm wrong, but just wanted to mention that. And I know a lot of you are curious about that speakeasy. If you know, you know. I'm putting in a video clip right here. So the line starts at the photo booth over there. Here in the club, it goes all the way around, back around over here, all the way out onto the dance floor. So if you know, you know. A lot of people apparently know now. But see, that's the line. That's how crazy that gets and how crazy people get for that. So I honestly think that Celebrity might start charging for that. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments. But there's that much demand, to let people in. I can see at some point them start charging and you have to book reservations to get in there. What do you think about it? So I haven't made it in yet. I'm gonna try to go later. Hopefully the line will die down and I'll get to go in and just check it out. I don't, need to go in and hang out for any period of time, but I did want to check it out and see what it was like. So I'll report back in a little bit and let you know if I got in or not. A very good evening. I have just gotten back. I can't say anything about it, and I won't because I was asked not to. But if you are coming on Celebrity Xcel, then I encourage you to check out the photo booth. That's all I'll say. But it's been a really fantastic trip, and I hope that you've enjoyed this video, getting a little bit deeper look into, what sailing on Celebrity Xcel is like. So I did my first video, like a first look around the ship, what's new about this ship, and then this video is a deeper look before my review, which will be coming next, which will be a more general thing. So hopefully you got a good idea of what the Celebrity Xcel is like, what cruising on her is like. If you're sailing on her soon, you should be very excited. She is a great ship. But I'll share my final review, my final thoughts, and I do have some that probably are going to be pretty controversial in that review video. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please go down below, give me a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next adventure.